What's happening, everybody? So last night, me and Mr. Corey Moody over here had an amazing conversation about how we ended up living in mobile dwellings and how it's allowed us to create a life of passion and purpose and just our dream lives and create an incredible future that we wouldn't be able to otherwise. And we had very different takes and very different backgrounds on this, so I thought it was a very, very interesting conversation and I wanted you to be part of it. So let me know what you guys think. Woo! Hey, what's up, everybody? My name's Jed. I've been living in my van for about 11 months now, traveling the United States, and I'm here with Corey, the Moody Traveler. He's got a YouTube channel as well. Make sure you check that out. Links in the description. We were just having a conversation about what it's like living in a mobile dwelling versus living in a traditional home or apartment or whatever, and some of our experiences with that, and we thought it would be really cool to share it with you guys. So, Corey, how long have you been living in any kind of mobile dwelling?
Yeah, well, it's been about a year and a half now, about 18 months or so, and I first off started in a Jeep Cherokee. I was living in a really expensive apartment, and it was just, that whole story, just tired of it, and, circumstances had, and I was ready and was able to move out of there and transform my Jeep into a mobile, camper pretty much, and has, a whole... The back of it has tools and all my gear and everything like that, and it's, it worked out really well, and did that for a while, and then about 4 months ago I got this RV, and it's been a life changer since then, man.
Yeah, this thing's really cool.
Yeah, it's cool, man.
It was a Jeep Cherokee, right?
Yeah, Jeep Cherokee. Just a 2000 Jeep Cherokee. It was lifted and had tires and all that stuff, but that was just because of the way that it was before, that I changed it, and that was actually my third rendition of living in a Cherokee. I had an original Cherokee, just the one that I had before, and so I have two Cherokees, and both of them I had rigged out in 3 different plans, and then this is my fourth, I guess, setup.
Wow, in 18 months, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a little different from mine. Mine, I started on the motorcycle, actually.
Okay.
I kind of discovered that when I was out on the motorcycle exploring new places, I felt the most alive and the most free. And when I was I was in college at the time, and when I was at school or at home doing homework and then trying to pay rent and all this stuff, I just felt stuck. But when I was out and exploring and going somewhere I've never been, I just felt totally free. So it was just this amazing feeling. So I did 10 states, and it was an R6. It was a crotch rocket all stretched out. I had saddlebags on it and everything, and a big old tank bag, and big bag on the back.
That's awesome.
And I camped at BLM land and just camping 10 states.
Damn.
It was most time it was pretty awesome. It was so cool to see all these places. I'd never really been out of Oregon. I've been to Northern California and some of Washington up to Seattle, but it was so cool. But it was so hard to sleep at night because I wasn't used to camping, and I had a hammock. I didn't even have a tent, so trying to sleep in a hammock was really hard. And
I could
all of my
imagine
stuff
that.
was out in the open. I didn't feel comfortable leaving my bike places because I couldn't lock my stuff up. So I decided to come back and sell the bike and get a minivan, which is totally insane, going from this badass crotch rocket to a minivan.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting the Astro, and I spent a while, and I built that up the way it was. I actually have rebuilt it while I was on the road.
Yeah. Okay.
But so that's kind of how I ended up in the van. How did you end up getting into the mobile thing? What's the story?
Yeah, so I was, like I said, I was living in my apartment and whatnot, and it was pretty cool. I was living with a roommate, and he just decided that we were ready to move out, and it was what it was, no big deal. And I was going to move into a house out in, it's about 45 minutes from New Orleans. I was going to live out there, and it was going to be sweet. And right before I was going to move in, my buddy that I was moving in with, he had to have his cousin and her best friend move in the house, and took my spot. So that was for about 5 months of that, or a couple months of that, they were in there, and then I was able to move out there for when it was freezing cold. It was really cold, and so I stayed a month or so in there in that house, and then was back in the Jeep, and I used that time to modify a little bit of the Jeep. But for the most part, I still was, I had a job where I was on the road a lot, and so I was traveling still, still pretty much living in a vehicle, I just had that home base type thing.
Was
So
was this in New Orleans?
it's in called Ponchatoula, which is about 45 minutes north of New Orleans.
Okay, so still in Louisiana.
Yeah, for sure,
All
for
right,
sure.
all right. What was the transition like? Was it weird for you to go from? I mean, most of us are raised in
Right.
houses and
Yeah.
apartments and stuff, and then like
It is,
the
totally.
transition to living in a vehicle is a totally different world.
Oh,
Was
yeah.
it stressful for you at first? Was it hard?
I mean, it was kind of, but I've always liked hanging out in my car, man. Like, not like living in it, of course, but like, after work or just going, if you go to get something to eat, you end up just like chilling and sitting for a while. And you're just like, it's like your own little, I've always liked forts and clubhouses and trees and, little building stuff. So it's kind of natural for me,
Just felt
honestly.
that way, yeah.
It felt pretty natural. And that's why I never really second guessed it or really had a problem with it or anything. I just
Wow.
really stuck with it and was like, this is cool, man. This is awesome. I have my own little zone. It was cozy, like in your Astro, just like small quarters helps you feel more secure almost.
Yeah, yeah.
It was nice.
I actually had a totally different experience with that. I had a couple really sketchy things on the
Yeah.
motorcycle trip. There was this crazy guy at this campsite it was just not. Watch my video on crazy stories from the road if you want to hear about that.
Yeah.
But then there was like a sandstorm in New Mexico, and I couldn't breathe for
Oh,
like 10
man.
minutes. Like I had my mouth under my
Right.
jacket because it was just this crazy sand. I couldn't see 5 feet in front of me, and I was like going like 80 miles an hour trying to get out of this thing.
Oh my god.
It was really intense. So the motorcycle was really rough.
Yeah.
And then when I got the van, the first time I went out, I went straight from Portland, Oregon, where I'm from, down to Death Valley.
Okay.
And the wind was just insane, and it was rocking the van. It gave me a panic attack.
Right.
And then every night after that, for like a week, I had a panic attack about something. It was either I was out in the middle of nowhere camping, and I
Right.
was like, oh my god, what if a serial killer comes up, or what if coyotes break into my van and eat me, or some ridiculous thing. I just didn't have control of my imagination. My
Right.
imagination was getting the best of me.
Yeah.
And I was so out of my element because I was used to going back home and being in my room, and
Right.
hanging
Just
out there,
Right.
and having my safe alone time. But I was so far out of my comfort zone that it was really hard for me at first. So I ended up going back, and I stayed with my parents for a month or two while I figured out how to
Right.
like
Chill out.
use my mind,
Yeah.
and figured out how to chill that out and control my thoughts. And I learned a lot about myself in that very little time. And I did some more work to the van, and then I had it out, and since then it's just been amazing.
Yeah, it's
Amazing.
good that you said that, man, because that's like another part of a lot of this stuff that people kind of go into this lifestyle. If you're thinking about it and whatever, it's great, but a lot of people kind of go into this lifestyle thinking that it's like, oh man, it's going to be nice and easy and we're just chilling, but it's a lot. You learn a lot about yourself. You have a lot of time.
Yeah.
And that's one of the best things for me is like I've always had a bad struggle and anxiety with time. The concept of it, feeling the pressure of it, just, And so with this, it liberates a lot of that to where you can form your own thoughts. You have the ability and the time to spend, to figure out yourself, figure out
Absolutely.
what you're doing in life and, and this and that. And really it helps you achieve stuff that, like for me personally, is I had this, aspiration to be whatever, but I never thought I could because I could never feel like I could make the steps to get there because I was always paying rent and doing stuff, being busy, trying to make the
Yeah.
money to survive.
Yep.
And so it just frees up a lot of your mind. Not really more than just freeing up time, your mind space. You just feel way more relaxed. So me personally anyways with this lifestyle and it's
Absolutely.
very, very helping to my personality type and stuff like that. So it is a life changer for sure.
Totally. Yeah, it's like you have to work all the time to afford this apartment or this
Yeah.
house or whatever, and then you have to constantly upkeep things,
Right.
and then you have to like worry about a car and
Yeah.
worry about all these things. So your attention is always external, trying to figure out how to survive.
Right.
But when you own a mobile dwelling, all of a sudden you don't have to pay rent, you don't have to pay
Hell yeah.
utilities, you don't have to work nearly as much. So your attention can go back inwards and you
Exactly.
can work on yourself. And I found that like the dreams and the stuff that I want, the life that I want to create, when I have more time to think and more time to work on those things, I'm so much more fulfilled and I'm
Yeah.
so much more I'm just happier and more confident and more content because I'm working on my dreams. I don't have to work some
it's
job,
like an active
some job
pursuit.
that I hate to afford this place that I only sleep at and hang out on the weekends, you know, and afford like to pay for this car that just gets me to the work to get me to the house that I never even get to spend time in. It doesn't make any sense. But with this lifestyle, I can totally like work towards my dream life. Like I can create my dream life.
Yep.
So this lifestyle is like just really
perfect.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely.
I did an equation.
Absolutely.
I actually did the math on how long I was in my apartment at any given time during a week, you know. And I calculated it up when I was in one of my apartments was on a daily basis, I was in my apartment less than 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I was always at work, at the gym, out doing stuff, and then I went to my apartment to eat, sleep, wake up, go to work, and that was it. And so it was literally 6.5, 7 hours of sleeping, and then maybe like an hour and a half or two. So between 10 and 8 hours a day, I was at my apartment. That's it.
You know what though? Most days I only sleep in my van. Most days because I'm out exploring
I
new
mean, like
amazing
you're
places
right.
I've never been.
We've been going everywhere.
Yeah, I'm out hiking the Grand Canyon or exploring the French Quarter in New Orleans, or I'm out doing something. I'm at a coffee shop creating my future and creating this amazing life for myself. And I don't feel like I used to feel like I went home to like hide from the stress and get into my internal world and like just try to relax from everything. But now it's like I'm out in the world and I'm exploring and I'm seeing things and I'm meeting people, and it's really just amazing. It's opened up so many things for me. I absolutely like I love living in a mobile dwelling. Plus, if I don't like where I am, if I don't like my neighbors, I just hike up and move somewhere else.
Move down the street.
It's no big deal. If I don't like the weather, if the weather sucks, if it's too cold or
See ya.
too hot or anything, bam. You know, I was just in I just spent the winter in Key West, and I spent like a month there, and I was in southern Florida and all around Florida. I got a suntan in winter. It was awesome, man.
Yeah, man. I'm still working to that. Like I chose this lifestyle to get ahead of where I couldn't get to. Like I felt like I was always, you know, chasing this thing, like getting not necessarily material things, but like, for example, like camera gear and things for my internal profession that I've always wanted to pursue, like filmmaking and just documenting life in a different way has always been a goal of mine, like since high school, man. Like I've been doing videos and stuff like that for a really long time in the scheme of my lifespan, you know. And so I finally just was like, you know, I made the decision is I can take this lifestyle to achieve what I want to get there finally, instead of like always like, oh, one day, or you know, maybe it'll get finished, or maybe I'll get to that point. And now it's like an achievable thing that you're actively pursuing, and it's just amazing to
So
to
it was on
understand
purpose. You started the mobile life on purpose.
Yeah, it was on purpose.
Wow,
man.
see, it was an accident for
No,
me.
it was
I did it just so
completely-
I could travel, and I ran out of money several times, and then I started to realize, oh wait, I have all this time. I can create a life where I have enough money to do this.
Yeah,
full
this
time.
was totally
So I've been
totally
working on
intentional for me. I completely did it completely voluntarily, completely on my own. I built my initial build out in my first Jeep in my apartment parking lot, man. And I built it right there, assembled it, and then moved out of my apartment into my Jeep.
So if somebody was telling you that they were, or somebody told you that they hate living in an apartment, they hate working their job, but they feel stuck, like, would you recommend this kind of life for anyone?
I recommend it to people that are cool with living in their house. You know, I have a huge, you know, admiration for trying to get people to not necessarily change their life or anything. I don't want, you know, you're doing what you're doing, you're happy, that's great, you know. But I want people to just think a little bit more of what they do, you know, and add a little bit more thought into what they're trying to do, to be like, wait, you know, you keep having these conundrums that you're going through in your head. Well, look, here's the achievable way to get this other way that you want to be, you know?
A to B, yeah, totally,
and
totally.
It's such a real thing that you can do. It's not, you know, I was like, oh, one day, oh, and you know, you had this like, you know, this like, oh, and you that dreamy state, and then it's like that realization that you can do it has been like completely the opening for me.
Yeah, man. I mean, I built my van for like probably $2,000.
Right.
And that's like 2 months rent in
Yeah,
most places. And I own my own home.
Yeah, I used my first build that I did, man. I spent $26
Wow.
on building it. I
On
went
the
down the
Cherokee?
street. Yeah, I went down the street, and there was a recycled. They have a place where they ship out stuff,
Mhm.
and there was they had plywood, hinges, all kind of stuff, everything out. They say it is a big sign that says free, and you just go. And I took it, and
Wow.
I would put them. I drove my bike over there to get it, and while I was working, I'm like, oh, I need this piece, and I go look, and I'd make it. I made that whole thing. I bought a 2x6 from Home Depot and some screws and stuff, and that was it. Other than that, it was all like reclaimed stuff and everything, and it just worked perfect.
No more rent.
Yeah, man.
Don't have to work as much.
No, and it's
Attain
been
your
great.
dreams.
It's
I
been
love
great, man.
Was there anything else you wanted to include in this?
Uh,
This is probably a lot for a lot of people to take
Yeah,
in.
it is.
They
It is
probably
a lot,
never heard
man.
this kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
I don't know. I like it more on that topic of, you know, if you had somebody that's asking you that, you know, I hate my job and stuff. I think that's the biggest thing out of this that I would like to purvey is like this whole thing that we're doing. You know, you watch people on YouTube and or people in life that you see and whatever, and you're like, you know, man, that would be cool, you know, or like that, just that thought. It's like change that thought into I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's all that it took for me was like I saw people online like A. Clarino, my buddy Eric was one of the first people I saw on the internet doing this stuff, man.
Me too.
And speaking of our neighbor,
Always blowing up.
yeah,
Yeah, no, he was one of the first ones too.
Yeah,
I watched.
yeah.
There was a couple van dwelling channels on there. There was Dan Travels, A.
Yeah.
Clarino,
right,
Will Burson.
yeah,
Oh, who were the other guys? Stand by Your Van.
yep, all of them,
couple
man.
others too. Yeah,
And
those guys
Stand by Your
totally
Van
inspired
really
me.
encouraged me
Me
because
too.
he's like really bullheaded about his stuff, you know. It's
Straight
just-
up, yeah,
he's
no
like-
BS with that guy.
Yeah, and that's
No
what
BS.
I was like. I was hanging out in my car so much anyways that I was just like, and another thing is like you have everything with you,
Yeah.
like everything you need. Like I've always had that anxiety of when you leave somewhere, it's like, oh, and then you get somewhere, you're like, damn, I forgot my jacket. Oh, I forgot this. Da, da, da. And
It's
it's
always
like,
right
oh.
there.
And like when people ask me, man, I love it. They're like, hey man, do you have? I'm like, yep. And I go and get it
And
out of the car.
In my van, it's always within arm's reach too,
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's so small.
Right. Yeah, man. It's amazing, dude. It's you have to be able to separate yourself from the stigmatism though. That's the biggest thing. It's like people like you just got to know like these people just don't get it. One day they'll understand, you know, people that have oppression towards it or anything
If
like
they
that.
don't, it's not your
not
your
a
obligation
problem.
to please anybody else.
Right, it's
or,
not your problem. Yeah,
or
man.
live by their definitions. Yeah. You know, I think one thing I'd add to that with the if you hate your job thing is that if you don't like where you are, use that energy
Oh my gosh.
to create something you do like.
Exactly.
Don't just sit there and I hate this. Dude,
Right.
use that energy and
Yep.
create something you love, man.
Right.
Like
Heck yeah.
yes, do it.
Yeah, man. I think man.
So
That's very good, you know.
that's probably all we got though, huh?
Yeah, I guess
That's
so.
about it.
I guess so.
Cool. Well, thanks, man.
Yeah, brother.
Woo! Love yourself.
See you guys.